Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into the AFV Factory. I thought it was time we get a little bit of a catch up on what I've been working on recently, and it's a good opportunity to show you the amusing hobbies, excuse me, Type 5 gun tank Horai 2, which is on my bench at the moment and which I've recently just completed the construction of. So I thought this would be a good time for me to just express my feelings on the model if you were thinking about getting it, or if you were thinking about amusing hobby in general, then I thought it might be a nice little reference thing for you. So I mean, it's I've really enjoyed building it. I mean, I do have a bit of a soft spot for amusing hobby, and that's for two reasons maybe. Firstly, you know, they do a range of kits that nobody else really does, and the ease of construction. They don't build them, or you don't get a kit that's over engineered, you know, with thousands of parts, and every little bolt is an individual thing that you glue on. I know some people like that. They are quite sort of fastidious about it, and you know, if that's your bag, fair play. I've got no complaint about it, but just for me personally, I much prefer you know, a more straightforward and easier build, for a few reasons. One, that I sort of get a bit frustrated if it's taking for ages and ages and I'm not seeing a great deal of development from the hours that I'm putting in. Secondly, I've got quite shaky hands, and that can slow down, or even can certainly exacerbate a build, and quite quickly the enjoyment, which is the main drive for me, and I'm guessing a lot of people, that goes. And you know, I don't want that. Kits are expensive. You know, time is as can always be used for other things. So when I sit down and do some modelling, I want to have fun with it. And I do enjoy the building, whereas once upon a time I kind of just breezed through it so that I could get to you know, the painting and weathering. I now actually enjoy the construction part of it as much as the those other two. So you know, I want to make sure that it's enjoyable. So I won't ramble on any further. I shall flip the screen round, and then we can actually have a look at the beast itself. So there it is. The beast is complete. Construction is almost complete. I say almost because I've got to obviously tear it down to start with the painting, and there's a few bits that I've left off because because it's all got to come apart. So there's some little hub caps here that need to go on, but mostly it's complete. The 20mm cannons, which we'll have a look at in a second, they're freestanding at the moment. The exhaust is all just held in place by the fit, so I can paint that as I go. I didn't really do anything to it. I mean, I did a bit of it came with two of these sort of mantlets. One was square, like a square box, and the other one had these rounded edges. So I just made a call that I would give that a bit of texture so it looked more like a cast mantlet. You know, there's no reference on any of this stuff for this vehicle, so you know, you can pretty much do whatever you want. But essentially I build it straight out of the box, and it was a quick build. You know, as I said, very few parts, or certainly very few sub-assemblies. You know, it's there's just not a lot going on there with this in a similar way to, you know, a Jagdtiger or that type of thing, with the boxed in fighting compartment. I mean, there's no engine visible, zero interior, and you know, it does go together quickly. And often, if you've been doing, or certainly if I've been doing a difficult or prolonged build, whether it's I'm doing some scratch building or I've got a sort of overly intricate kit to build, it's nice to suddenly pick something up and, you know, in a matter of weeks it is assembled and ready to go. Yeah, so I mean, On the plus side, I love the texture that they do on this steel. I mean, it's obviously, again, it's completely fictitious. Why they chose it to look like this, I do not know, but I love it. I think it looks awesome. So that looks really smart. You've got workable suspension with some clever little springs that hide up in these tubes. So if you wanted to, some are a bit slack. I mean, that they're not. Most of them are okay. I would think that it's more to do with people who are going to be positioning them in a moving scenario. So you want the articulation from the road wheels and from the tracks. I've had it for a little while, and it was something, as soon as I saw it, it struck me. I'm a big fan of Jagdtigers, and it just looked like something. I almost pictured in my head, funnily, the sort of Japanese military looking at a Jagdtiger and then thinking to themselves, we'll show the Germans how to build a Jagdtiger, and this is what they came up with. Pretty formidably armoured and armed. The main gun is supposedly 105mm. What this secondary cannon down here is supposed to be, I don't know. Something around a 50mm or thereabouts, I would guess. You've got the rangefinder at the top here. There is travel in the barrel, so you can move that left, right. But not up and, well, you can pose it up or down in whatever position you want, but once it's locked in, that's where it stays. So as I said, I've got to pull it apart now for painting. There's going to be some cleanup needed, and there's some bits and pieces here, but I shall just go over it one final time before it goes to primer firstly, obviously. So we'll have a look at the 20mm cannons, because they're a nice little kit on themselves. I mean, this, to give you an idea, I was talking about sub-assemblies. This is represents the biggest amount of pieces that go together to form part of a I'm trying to struggle here, to sort of, as part of this tank. There's no other real parts that need this many parts to create it, and this really only took a few. There wasn't a lot to it. The 20mm cannons came complete as you see them, and you just added on the compression or suspension rods on each side. So, and that sits on the back there, which again, it gives it a unique image. You don't see that sort of thing, certainly not with that caliber of weapon on there. So overall, mostly, and I do say mostly, I like this kit. There is some work that needs to be done on it. It is a kit where you are going to have to show a bit of modelling skill in the shape of some sanding and filing and filling in certain places, just because it requires a little bit of that. I mean, for me, that is what I call modelling. Is you don't just put it together straight out the box and all you touch it with is glue and it goes together. In a way, in one sense, that's quite nice. In another sense, it kind of is a bit of a hollow victory, I feel, at the end. If you've had to have put in some time and effort to get things to look how you want, or to bring them up to a acceptable standard, then that goes a long way with me. Primarily, it's various areas where the fit is bad. So you can see here, I've gone round this, and it still needs a bit more, but the joint between those two sections, the upper and lower halves, was not very good at all, so I had to fill it in with sprue goo and then sand it down. The barrel, again, as you can see, it was slide molded, so you would think that it would be really good, but it had quite heavy seams running down each side, multiple little tags where the sprue gates were, and the joint between the two sections wasn't very good. So in the sense, I've actually put as much work into that barrel as I would have if it had been come in two halves and I'd had to have glued it together. But you know, a little bit of work and it pays dividends. You know, it looks okay, and it doesn't look okay, it looks fine. It's once the paint's gone on there, there's not going to be any issues. As I said before, it was a vehicle that I wanted to build and I was excited about, and so these little issues around it are easily surmountable, and also didn't bother me because, you know, the desire to have this kit and to build it, you know, superseded that. I didn't mind having to do a bit of fiddling about. So there is that. What we haven't talked about or looked at is the tracks. So let's don't need both sets. So you've got workable suspension on this, and these tracks are supposedly workable. What you get is, I've got something here I can show you. No, it looks like I've cut them all off. So you get two links, and it comes one either side of this, one there, one there. So if you're careful and when you're snipping off the link, you don't have to do any cleanup. It just comes away easily. So that's 101 links per side. Cutting them off took no time at all. As I said, I was careful, so there was no cleaning up needed. And yeah, they click together. When things start to go wrong is inevitably you get some that don't click together quite so well. You do get some extras in the pack of track links, but even with that, every now and again you've got one that won't go together, and if once it fouls or doesn't work, it's never going to work. Also, you do tend to have some loose fitting ones. You're not really aware of that until you start trying to fit it onto the vehicle. I would normally be doing this video, and I've done photos on various platforms. It would have the tracks on it because you know, I'd like to see it, like to show it completed before it goes on to paint. But I couldn't do that with these tracks because the more you manipulate them, the more they want to come apart, and it is very, very frustrating. I think the problem is that for me, you get into the mindset of, oh, the suspension's workable, the tracks are made to be movable, workable, so you try and build to that standard, and the reality of it is these tracks aren't for that. You know, they're not up to it, unfortunately. I've built a few using hobby kits, and I've always run into problems with the tracks. It's, you know, and lots of companies have problems with tracks, or lots of modelers have problems with manufacturers' tracks, whether they've got way too many parts and it takes forever to do. I don't quite know what it is that's driving this, you know, inability to turn out a decent pair of tracks. But there you go. I can't in good conscience say that the tracks are up to the quality or up to the state of the vehicle, because they're not. What I'm going to do is I can't mess about with them anymore, because as I said, the more you manipulate them, the more joints go. So therefore I'm then gluing joints, and I'm thinking that I'm going to be running into the problem of when I actually go to fit them, I'll have non-working links in areas where I need working links, specifically around the idler and the sprocket. I've put extra links in because I wanted to give a nice track sag along there. I think it always looks good on a tank, if it's realistic or not. It looks good in my opinion, which is what I intended to do with these. But again, if I'm getting too many glued together links, I am in danger of losing the ability to do that sag. So I'm not messing about with them anymore. The tank's going to go in for a primer. I'm going to paint these up. I don't spray paint tracks anymore. I don't see the point, because you're not trying to go for a really good finish, or you're trying to go for a realistic finish, but that doesn't necessitate airbrushing and what have you, especially with the primer. So I'm just going to paint the primer on quickly, get it to a base coat quickly. I'm going to remove some of the plastic here in the front of the track guard here, just so the track's got better clearance around there, because I did have to relieve the tooths on the sprocket, allowing them to sit nicely into the tracks. But obviously as it's going round the sprocket and it's quite close to the edge there, you do get a bit of fouling, which inevitably leads to needing more pressure to get the track to run round, and then more links pop apart. So I need to make sure that there is as little messing around with the tracks as possible. In hindsight, I probably should have just built this as one solid run, glued it all together, glued it round the road wheels and the idler and the sprocket, and then painted them off the vehicle, which is what I've done with the low of theirs that I built. I did exactly the same thing with that. But as I say, because the suspension is workable, it's more difficult to find the right place for everything to sit. And if you glued in place all the wheels to allow you to glue the tracks to them, and you then just found out that the tank was not on a level, there wouldn't be very much you could do about that to save it. So I've avoided, for that reason, I haven't bothered doing what would have actually come naturally to me had the suspension been fixed in place. So yeah, that's about it really. Despite its a few problems, I like this kit. It's going to be, I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but I think it's going to look wicked once it's all painted up and that. It's something that you don't see around very often. It's a bit different, and I do go for a bit different quite often. It's something that sort of resonated with me when I first saw it. I thought, yeah, I've got to get one of those. So yeah, the issues and the niggles weren't bad enough to drive me to start pressing the destruct button on these. So I managed to remain pretty calm considering, and so there it is. Yeah, a nice kit, an unusual topic. The good parts about it far outweigh the issues that you might have. Every kit has difficulties, doesn't? I'm pretty sure. So yeah, well, I'll leave it there. There's not much more I can say about it, unless anyone's got any questions. Then obviously let me know. And thanks a lot for watching. Take care, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.